Good evening, my name is Shakia Stevenson, and I will be presenting a persuasive speech on homeschooling versus public schooling. As I'm giving this speech, remember back to the time when you were the age of around 4 or 5 and your parents were pretty much deciding whether or not to homeschool you, send you to public school, or whatever other options they had, and think about how did that affect you as a person you are today. Germs, bullies, and public restrooms are one of the biggest fears that most parents and children have when it comes to schooling. And unfortunately, that's usually what's associated with public schooling. So the question is homeschooling better than public schooling? Is homeschooling more beneficial for your child? Privacy-wise, yes, homeschooling may be the best option, but it has its disadvantages. Time management between school and your family is one of the main options and things you need to think of when you're choosing between schooling choices. One of the pros of homeschooling is the parent and both the child are in control of how that child spends his or her day. For example, little Johnny doesn't have to worry about waking up at 6:30 a.m. to be ready to go catch the bus by 7:30 to be at school by 8 o'clock. And the parent won't be interrupted later on in the day around, say, 3 o'clock to have to pick little Johnny up from the bus, because they have the control to maneuver throughout the day as they go. Although that sounds great, it can also come to a disadvantage. The con of that is, with the parent being the child's primary instructor, they are left with the burden of having to get ready lesson plans each and every week and making sure that their child is where they should be academically. And with that, they are now losing time to do things like that's family oriented. Per se, while the child's at school, you're usually at home cooking, cleaning, and doing grocery shopping. But if the child's at home all day, you don't no longer have the time, and so you're sacrificing most of your day trying to figure out how to get around it and manage your time, which will eventually add stress onto the entire family. Isolation is another issue when it comes to homeschooling. When choosing homeschooling, you're stripping your child of having the choice to interact with other children. And later on in life, it could cause social anxiety and other social issues. And of course, your child won't be able to make any friends simply because he or she is at home all day with the parents. And when that's done, you're pretty much opting your child to fail. You're setting him or her up for failure simply because social interaction is the key point in your adulthood later on in life. And the final thing that I'm going to talk about when it comes to homeschooling your child is his or her experiences. When homeschooling your child, you're simply stripping them of any experiences they will have in a public school setting. For instance, they won't be able to experience junior, senior prom or acting that attractive person out that's in, say, their third period class. You're also taking away their chances of participating in sporting events or even trying out for extracurricular activities. And most importantly, you're pretty much stripping them of the chance of experiencing peer pressure. Simply because I know for a fact nobody's parent is at home offering their child a beer or a cigarette. And by taking that option from that child to either withstand peer pressure or give in and learn a lesson from giving in, you're pretty much, again, setting them up for failure simply because your adulthood life is filled with learning who you are, your limits, your boundaries, pretty much learning who you are and learning yourself. And that public school setting usually sets you up to prepare yourself for later on in adulthood. So, of course, when you're thinking about what you should do for your child when it comes time to send them off to school. Just think solely about how it will affect their future and not just what you just think is going to protect them right now, but is it beneficial to them? Will it make them a better person? Thank you for listening.